Welcome back to the Malaysia Money Matters show. It's December 25th, 2024. Hope you all are having a wonderful holiday.
Merry Christmas.
Today, we're going to be looking at some recent news from Malaysian companies,
Okay.
as well as some global and political developments that could affect your investments.
All right.
So think of this like a quick, insightful year-end review.
For the Malaysian market. Got it. Sounds good.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to cover. Yeah. Some ongoing legal battles,
Okay.
but also some surprisingly good news for investors.
Oh, excellent. Love to hear that.
So should we jump right in?
Yeah, let's get right to it. First up, we've got Amicorp Group,
Amicorp Group.
a company based in Hong Kong, pushing back against a massive lawsuit
Oh,
filed by 1MDB in the British Virgin Islands.
okay.
And we're talking a $1 billion lawsuit here.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So what are they saying?
So 1MDB claims that Amicorp helped them launder billions of dollars.
Oh, wow.
But Amicorp denies any wrongdoing. They say they cooperated fully with international investigations.
Okay.
It's a sticky situation.
Yeah, it really highlights how complex the 1MDB scandal was. I mean, the fallout is still being felt years later.
Definitely. And it raises some questions about the role of these corporate service firms.
Right?
Companies that help manage complex financial transactions. It seems like they operate in a bit of a gray area.
Yeah, for sure. And this case could lead to stricter regulations for them in the future.
Okay. Well, something to watch.
Definitely.
Now, let's move on to some good news,
Okay, love to hear it.
especially for those of you invested in Amana Saham Bumiputra,
All right.
or ASB as it's commonly known.
Yes.
So ASNB, the fund manager, they just declared a dividend of 5.75 cents per unit.
5.75.
That's the highest it's been since 2018.
Wow. That's fantastic for those 11.1 million people who hold units in ASB.
I know, it's great, right?
Yeah, that's a really good return. I mean, this strong performance must be due to a few things. Maybe PNB, the parent company of ASNB, has been diversifying its investments well, and the Malaysian stock market overall has been doing pretty well.
It seems that way. PNB has actually stated publicly that they're very bullish.
Bullish.
Yeah, on the Malaysian economy and the FBM KLCI for 2025.
Wow. So they're really optimistic about the future. What are they basing this optimism on?
Well, they cite several reasons, including clear economic policies from the government, strong foreign investment flowing into Malaysia. Oh, and they talk about the potential for what they call a third investment upcycle.
A third investment upcycle. So basically they're saying this wave of investment will lead to strong economic growth.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That all sounds pretty promising, but I'm sure there's some risk involved too, right?
They did mention one potential risk.
Okay.
They pointed out that while the overall economy might be doing well, corporate earnings,
Corporate earnings.
so the profits companies are making,
Right.
might not necessarily grow at the same pace.
So even if the economy as a whole is strong, some companies might not see their profits increase.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So investors need to be a bit more selective, you know? They can't just assume every company's going to benefit.
Exactly. They need to research specific companies that are likely to perform well.
Yeah. Research is key.
Absolutely. Speaking of different perspectives, we've got Phillip Capital,
Phillip Capital.
a financial services firm. They're offering a more cautious view. They're suggesting that the growth of the FBM KLCI
The FBM KLCI.
might be limited
Okay.
due to a potential slowdown in foreign investment
Right.
and a strengthening U.S. dollar.
So they're a bit more cautious than PNB. Interesting.
And instead of focusing on these big companies in the FBM KLCI, Phillip Capital recommends that investors consider small to mid-cap stocks.
So companies with a lower total value.
Right. They believe that these smaller companies offer a better balance of risk and potential reward in 2025.
So they're saying there could be hidden gems out there among those less well-known companies.
It's a possibility.
I like that. It's always good to remember there are different ways to invest, right?
Definitely. What works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly.
Now, let's move on to a sector that's looking particularly interesting, utilities.
Utilities.
Apex Securities is giving this sector a big thumbs up.
Interesting. What's driving that optimism?
Well, they say that the rapidly growing demand for electricity from data centers
Data centers.
and electric vehicles
Oh,
is driving strong growth in the utility sector.
that makes sense. I mean, data centers, they're becoming massive consumers of electricity.
I've read that they could account for over a third of total electricity demand by 2035.
Wow, that's a huge amount. And it's
Okay.
not just the utility companies themselves that benefit, right?
Right.
It's also those companies involved in the electricity supply chain.
Exactly.
Cable manufacturers, solar panel installers, all of that.
The whole ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a long-term trend.
Yeah, definitely. Investors should be paying attention. Now, before we get into the kind of rapid-fire round of company news updates,
Okay.
I want to touch on some global and political trends
Sounds good.
that could affect Malaysia. First up, we've got China planning a record issuance of special treasury bond
Treasury bonds. Okay.
worth a whopping $411 billion US dollars.
Wow. That's a huge number.
A massive stimulus package aimed at boosting their economy.
Right. And that could definitely have ripple effects here in Malaysia.
Definitely something to consider. Next, we've got news from the world of cryptocurrency. Singapore has overtaken Hong Kong
Overtaken Hong Kong. Okay.
to become the leading crypto hub in Asia.
Interesting. So how did that happen?
It seems that Singapore's more open approach to regulating crypto
Oh, okay.
is attracting companies and investors.
So they're kind of ahead of the game.
It seems that way. They're giving them an edge over Hong Kong.
That's fascinating.
Then we've got some news closer to home. Apparently, Malaysia submitted the most requests to TikTok for content and account removals out of any government in the first half of 2024.
Wow, that's pretty significant.
It raises some questions.
Definitely. About freedom of expression.
Right. And the government's role in regulating online content.
It'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Okay, now let's get to those rapid-fire company news updates.
All right, let's do it.
First up, we have Nestcon,
Nescon.
a construction company. They just won bids for 2 large-scale solar projects in Sabah.
That's great news for them. And it shows how the demand for renewable energy is creating opportunities.
And then there's OCBC Bank, which has been named Malaysia's Bank of the Year for the 2nd year in a row.
Wow, 2 years in a row. That's impressive.
It really is. Next up, we have BHIC. Their shareholders have approved the sale of a 51% stake in one of their shipbuilding subcontractors. This is related to the LCS project.
The LCS project, right, the one that's been plagued with delays.
Exactly. It seems BHIC is trying to, streamline their operations.
Makes sense.
Moving on, East Navigator Capital has reduced its stake in Pharmaniaga, a pharmaceutical company, to below 5%.
Oh, interesting. So is East Navigator Capital planning to exit completely?
It's not clear yet. They could maintain a smaller stake. We'll have to wait and see.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that one.
Next, we have Aslan Abdul Kadir. He is no longer a substantial shareholder in Datasonic, a technology company, after reducing his stake.
Interesting. Sometimes those changes in shareholdings can signal something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shifts in investor sentiment. So it's worth noting.
Definitely.
Similarly, Chian Chiachao, the managing director of PUC,
PUC.
a digital services company, has also reduced his stake.
I wonder if that's related to their recent acquisition. They issued a lot of new shares, which could have diluted his ownership.
Possibly. And finally, we have KKB Engineering, an engineering and construction company. They're suing a contractor for unpaid claims.
Ah, yes. Legal disputes are always a possibility in the construction industry.
Okay, so that wraps up our company news roundup. We've covered a lot.
We have lawsuits, dividends, changes in shareholdings.
It's been a busy week.
Yeah, it seems like it. So out of all of that, what stood out to you the most?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, the most exciting news has to be the ASB dividend. It's the highest in years, and it shows that investing in the Malaysian market can still yield good returns. What about you? What caught your attention?
I'm really intrigued by Phillip Capital's suggestion to focus on those small to mid-cap stocks in 2025.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a different approach. It challenges the idea of sticking with large, well-established companies.
that's true. It's like they're saying, don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Exactly. And I think it's a strategy worth exploring further.
I agree. It reinforces the importance of diversifying your portfolio
Absolutely.
and not limiting yourself to those big-name companies.
There are always opportunities out there if you're willing to look.
For sure. Now, speaking of exciting developments, let's talk about Sarawak's plan to build a brand new international airport.
Oh, wow. A new airport. That's ambitious.
It is. It shows their commitment to attracting businesses and investors and tourists to the state.
So they're really trying to boost Sarawak's profile.
They are. And they're not stopping there. They're also in the process of establishing a new airline to operate out of this new airport.
Wow. They're going all in.
A bold strategy.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up for today,
Yeah.
Let's touch on a few more company updates.
Sounds good. What else is happening? Well, there's news about Syed Sadiq, a prominent member of parliament. A court has dismissed his attempt to challenge the fact that he hasn't been receiving his MP allocations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it seems he missed the deadline to file his challenge.
The importance of deadlines. Always good to keep those in mind. Well, it seems like we've done a pretty thorough deep dive into the Malaysian market today. We've covered a wide range of topics from ongoing legal battles to promising investment opportunities and bold infrastructure projects.
We've certainly covered a lot of ground. From corporate news to global trends to political developments, it's all connected in this increasingly complex world.
It's true. Understanding these connections is key to making informed investment decisions. So to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has provided you with some valuable insights and food for thought as you navigate the Malaysian market.
Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your finances.
And speaking of knowledge, if you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay ahead of the curve in the Malaysian market, be sure to subscribe to the Malaysia Money Matters podcast. We'll be back soon with more insightful deep dives into the topics that matter most to you. Until then, happy investing and happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you would like a deeper dive into all the investment opportunities from today's news, subscribe to my newsletter at moneymatters.substack.com. I will be sharing a deeper analysis of the key investment opportunities from today's news, including what makes these opportunities stand out and how they fit into the broader market trends. By subscribing to the Malaysia Money Matters newsletter, you will also get exclusive insights on my watch list and portfolio and fundamental reports on Malaysian listed companies.